What's up guys, it's Zen with Zen Trading Academy. Welcome back to another video. As you all know, I use TradingView to do all of my charting because I think TradingView is the best charting software in Malaysia. So today I'm going to show you all how to set up your TradingView charts and how I set up my charts. So let's get right in the video. So when you get onto TradingView, this is the first page you will see, right? This is the home page of TradingView. Now there are quite a few tabs here, as you can see, ideas, markets, scripts, but for me, I only use charts and screeners. So first, let's jump into the charts, right? Just click into charts. So the default theme for TradingView is actually a very light and white color background. If you prefer to use a dark theme, all you're gonna do is right click on the chart, come down here to color theme and select dark. Okay, let's get into some settings first. So let me run you through all the settings that I use and what they all mean. So the first thing you wanna do is to make sure you have candlestick charts selected. You can come up here on the top, you see this bar right here, make sure you choose candles. You can try out the rest, but I prefer to use candlesticks. So I'm going to go through some settings and let's start from the top. For symbol, this is mainly what I use. So body, borders and wick, these are the candlestick colors, right? You can see at the background, if I change the color to yellow, you can see my candlesticks turn yellow as well. This you can change to your own preference, but I prefer to use it as green and red. So there's so many settings here and there's so many checkboxes for you to try. The best way to do it is just to try it yourself. So just check it, uncheck it and see what's changed. For example, last price line, it shows you where the price is and it highlights it on the bar on the side. I prefer to keep it off because I want it to be as clean as possible, right? It still shows the current price right here, it just doesn't have the line. There's a few other settings here as well. I suggest you play around with it, but this is the ones that I use. So on to status line. For symbol, this refers to the top left corner. You can either choose description or ticker. Description shows the whole name of the company, for example, Supermax Corporation. But if you choose ticker, it changes it to the short form, Supermax. I prefer to keep it in description, but this is up to your preference. I will also recommend you select this OHLC values. This shows the open, high, low, and close, so that when you hover over any candlesticks, you will instantly be able to get the information in case you're looking for the high or the low of the candle, so that you don't have to keep looking at the price on the right. All you gotta do is look for the information all on top right here. And as for indicator tiles, this shows the indicator on the left in case you're using any indicator, and I prefer to use indicator arguments just to know what are the parameters that I'm using for each of my indicators. For example, the VWAP, I'm using VWAP of the close. The indicator value is also very important, similar logic to the OHLC values, so that when you hover over certain candles and you want to know where the indicator is at, all you got to do is look at the left side and you can see how the value changes as I move down the line on the VWAP. So for scales, I don't really change any settings in this section. The only setting that I choose to have is no overlapping labels so that I can see where all of my lines are. The labels are important when you draw lines and you can see the prices where the lines intersect. But here are my settings in case you want to follow how I set up my charts. Now on to appearance, this is where I do most of my customization. I prefer to have a black background because in the morning when I'm trading, I prefer to have a darker background that's easier on my eyes. Vertical and horizontal grid lines, let me show you what they look like. These are just grid lines and I don't see much use in them, so I just change them to the background color so that it looks like they're not even there. Now I recommend you use session breaks because this shows you when the day ends and when the next day starts. This is useful when you're looking at smaller time frames and you want to know where the day started just to get a gauge of how today's stock has been traded. And for the other settings, I just let them be because it doesn't make much of a difference in my charting. As for trading, since I trade on an external broker, I don't need to change any settings here because I don't use the trading functions in TradingView. But if you're trying to paper trade, this might be a section that you can customize yourself and just play around with all the checkboxes. Lastly, for the event settings, dividends, splits and earnings, I find this very useful for trading because I don't have time to go and search each and every stock to find out when their earnings are, and TradingView does that automatically, so might as well use the function, right? As for economic events, this usually only applies for Forex, less for stocks. Now that we've done the settings, let's move on to the top bar up here. Let's start from the left side. This is the search bar, right? All you gotta do is click into it and look for the stock that you want to search. For example, Top Glove, right? The other way to do it is, when you're on the chart, just start typing and you should be able to bring up the search bar as well. If you want to look for exchange specific tickers, you can come up to the globe up here and look for the exchange that you want. In our case, if I want to look for bursa tickers, all I gotta do is choose MYX, which is Bursa Malaysia, and everything I search for is from Malaysia. Now, moving on to the time frames, you can see that I have multiple time frames up here: 1 minute, 2 minute, 1 hour daily. But if you click this arrow down here, you will get the whole selection of time frames. If you see a time frame that you want but you don't have, you can add it down here. You can have your custom time frames. For example, if you want a 6-minute time frame, you can just put 6 minutes here and click add, and it will show up on your time frame. Now, to get them to show up here automatically, all you got to do is click the star on the side, and it will show up on your favorites bar, and you can just click into them without having to go down on the search. Now, we looked at this earlier. This is where you look for all the different types of charts. You can have a line chart, you can have a Japanese candle chart, but I prefer to use candles because this gives me all the information I need for my type of trading. Now, indicators, this is a very important box. This is where you look for indicators that are either built in or created by the public. There's really endless indicators for you to look for. All you gotta do is type in the indicator you want, or just go and scroll through the list that is built in. For example, if I want a moving average, all I have to do is type moving average, and I can just click it, and we get a moving average on the chart. There's also indicators created by other people which you can test out yourself. For example, this squeeze momentum indicator, you can try to understand this indicator and add it to your strategy. So next up, beside indicators, we have financials. It's exactly as what it sounds like. These are the financials of the company which you can plot into a chart. For example, if I want to know the PE ratio of the stock as it changes with the price, all I have to do is choose the PE ratio and then it plots it for me. I personally don't use this because I only use the VWAP and the volume as my two main indicators. Now, if you want to customize your indicator, all you got to do is go and hover over the name, click this little gearbox, and you should get an input box for you to customize your indicator however you want. For example, for my VWAP, I can offset it by 5 ticks, and you should push it to the side, and I can change the color as well, right? I can change it to white color, and I can make it thicker. So it's very, very customizable, and you can just play around with it however you like. So once you've set up all of your indicators, right, you want to save the template. If not, it will reset every time you refresh the page. So come to this next bar, templates, click on templates, click save indicator template and save it as whatever you want to call it. Now there's also an alert button up here, but I think it's easier to pinpoint the price you want to send alert. Go to the charts, right click and put add alert right there. This will make it a lot easier rather than clicking alert and manually inputting the price. The replay function is also quite useful if you want to backtest. All you gotta do is click the replay button, choose a bar for it to replay till, and just let it run. Now moving to the right side of the top bar, we can see layouts right here. If you click into it, there are many different layouts, but you need to have a premium account to use these layouts. For pro account, you get up to 2 different charts on one screen, but I usually just use 1. And then the few other buttons on the side should be quite straightforward. This is the settings button, full screen mode, and this is to take a screenshot. Now that we've got the top bar done, let's move on to the left side. This is where all of the drawings will be at. I'm not going to go through all of the drawings, but I'm just going to show you the ones that I use the most commonly. So you can go and explore each of the drawings, right? You can see there's a small arrow beside each of the boxes, and you can see all of the options that's available. All you got to do is click into it, and you should be able to use the drawing tools however you want. Now, how do I get a floating bar of drawing tools right here? Again, all you got to do is go to the drawing, click the star on the side, and it will appear on your favorites bar. So let's look at what I use most often. I use a horizontal line just to draw my support and resistance. I also use a more flexible line where I can draw trend lines or I can draw any breakout levels. I also have this ray tool which I use to identify breakout levels so that I don't confuse them with my support and resistance, and I know that the green lines are usually just breakout lines that I've drawn before. I also use arrows just to indicate where I'm buy and sell for all my students and for the live stream. My arrow tool just to show what kind of structure I'm looking for, especially for the breakouts. A square tool so that I can highlight certain areas of interest, and also a brush just for the flexibility of drawing. So if you have a lot of clutter on your charts but you want to remove all your drawings, all you have to do is right click, look down here, remove drawings, and everything will be gone. A few other interesting tools you can find on the side here is the Fibonacci retracement levels. Or if you want to visualize your buy and sell, you can come here and select long position just to plan out where you're going to enter, where you're going to stop out, and where you're going to take profits. So get into the charts and start playing around with these drawings because you never know which one would suit you best, but these are the ones that I use the most. Now last but not least, let's move on to the right side. There's so many buttons here, but I only use 3 different ones. The first one is the watch list. You can see that I have quite a few stocks in my watch list, and the way to add them is right here. All you gotta do is go to the plus sign, look for a stock that you want to add, for example JF Tech, and it will appear down here. On the side, you can label them with colors, but this is only a feature available to Pro plan. Now the next object that I use is the alerts. This is where I keep track of the alerts that I have set. In case I've hit the limit of alerts I can set, this is where I come to look through which I can remove. And down here is the alerts log, in case I can't remember which alert just got triggered, and I can see right here. Now the third object I will use is the last one down here. So this basically shows the buy and sell orders, and I use them in case my broker starts to lag and I need to keep track of how the orders are moving. So now that we've gone through most of the tools on TradingView, let's move on to the screener. This is how I look for stocks every single day. So you can actually look for your screener at the bottom left right here. All you gotta do is click it and you will see the screener pop up. But I prefer to do it on a separate tab so that I don't get so much clutter on my screen. So to get to screeners from the home page, all you gotta do is click screeners right here. And if this is the first time you're using the screener, make sure you set it to the right market. On the right here, see this little circle, look for Malaysia. Right? So that it only shows you the stocks from the Malaysian bursa market. Okay? And you can see there's a lot of columns over here. It's very, very customizable. All you gotta do is click these there's 3 buttons on the side, and you can see all of the different columns that you can select. But for me, all I need is the name of the ticker, the last price, change percentage, and the volume. These are the main columns that I use on a daily basis. Everything else is just a bonus, but it doesn't really affect how I choose my stocks. You can also add filters with this filter button on the right. All you gotta do is click it, and you can look for all the fields that you can filter out and put in your desired value. For me, all I do is I look for stocks above 50 cents and above 1 million volume. And that is it. But you gotta remember one important thing. That is to save your screener setup. If not, every time you refresh, it will change back to the default. So click the right side here, save screen as, and put your desired name. And right here as well, there's one more place to save. Make sure you click this little arrow right here, save columns as whatever name you want, right? You gotta make sure you save it so that when you open your screener in the future, they will load your customized screener with all your filters and all your columns. So there's a few tips I want to share with you that I have learned myself while using TradingView. The first one is to readjust the size of the chart. All you gotta do is drag the axis on the right? You can drag it up and down to resize the charts. And if you want to reset the size, all you gotta do is double click and you reset the scale. Now, if you want to focus just on this pane, you don't want to see your volume or your other indicators, all you gotta do is double click the back and you will focus on that one pane that you've selected. And to undo, all you gotta do is double click again and everything will be back. Another tip is, if you want to zoom on a specific area, place your crosshair and where you want to zoom, press and hold Ctrl while zooming. And it will zoom exactly where your crosshair is at. If you want to measure how much this has dropped or how much this has rebounded, all you gotta do, press and hold Shift, click and drag. And you will get this ruler tool which tells you how many cents it has gone up and how many percent it was. And as I mentioned earlier, use the favorites function to make your life easier. Favorite the time frames that you use the most common so that you don't have to come down to this selection bar every time you want to change the time frame. Same as the drawing tools, favorite your most commonly used drawing tools so that you can click it with ease. And last but not least, if you want to change the time frame quickly, just type a number and hit enter to change to the time frame. So if I want to change it to a 5-minute chart, all I have to do is click 5, hit enter, and it changes it to a 5-minute chart. So that's a really quick run through of all of the settings that you can change in TradingView and all of the settings that I personally use. So hopefully this helps you get used to TradingView and speeds up your learning curve. If you found this video useful, I would really appreciate if you could smash the like button and subscribe if you're new. Thank you for watching this video and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.